If you thought the president's enthusiasm for his attorney general might have waned a little bit over the weekend, what with the beating Alberto Gonzales took on the Sunday political talk shows, some of it from Republicans like Arlen Specter, you ain't seen loyalty yet. And Fredo, that is what Mr. Bush calls his attorney general, seems to be a particular favorite of W's. And even though the president did not watch Thursday's testimony before the Senate, at which Mr. Gonzales was underwhelming, to put it charitably, today Mr. Bush reiterated his support.
As the investigation or the hearings went forward, it was clear that the attorney general broke no law, did no wrongdoing. And some senators didn't like his explanation, but he answered as honestly as he could. And this is an honest, honorable man in whom I have confidence.
Okay, so this keeps going. Before leaving work today, the White House issuing a written statement praising the Attorney General for his work on an obscure identity theft task force that really not too many people had ever even heard of. President Bush thanking Mr. Gonzales for, quote, taking on this difficult and important assignment. Countdown thanking Air America's Rachel Maddow for taking an important assignment, setting us straight tonight. So, Rachel, the countdown bullpen was really taken aback today by the president's use of the phrase, he answered as honestly as he could. Dana Perino, White House spokesperson, repeated it later on in a White House briefing. We want to know, does honesty have degrees? What does this really mean, as honestly as he could?
Yeah, if you're answering something as honestly as you can, that means you're not exactly being honest. You're either being honest or you're not. This was just for somebody to look at his performance on Capitol Hill and say, God, my confidence for him is just swelling within me. It almost defies belief. The Attorney General said, I don't recall, more than 70 times. And this is about stuff that's not ancient history. One of the things he said he didn't recall was talking to the president about the U.S. attorneys. That's something even the president says that he recalls, but Alberto, it's just all lost to the mists of time. Sometime in the past few months, that's gone. At this point, you have to conclude that he's either lying or he's not lying, but he ought to be accompanied by a minder every time he leaves the house to make sure that he remembers to put his pants on.
You bring up an interesting point. As you watch the president, did you get the president was saying, Al's not really all that good at this, so he really did the best he could up there in front of those people, or he answered as truthfully as he could based on what he knows?
Yeah, it's a low bar if what you're saying is he tried as hard as he could to tell the truth. You don't want somebody to be an attorney general because you think that he's a soft, fuzzy, bunny kind of guy, and he tries really hard to tell the truth even when he can't. Part of the reason that people are really clamoring, I think, for Alberto Gonzales' resignation is not just the firing of these 8 U.S. attorneys and his inability to keep his story straight about why that happened. It's also all of the other things that have followed him around in the string of disasters that have trailed him in Washington. He's the torture guy. He's the Geneva Conventions are quaint guy. Since Bush has been president, 80% of the prosecutions brought by federal prosecutors against candidates for office or elected officials have been against Democrats. It's not just the prosecutors who got fired. It's the prosecutors who didn't get fired. Alberto Gonzales has been a real failure in Washington. And at this point, if this is the thing that brings him down, I think good. But if it wasn't going to be this, it was going to be something else.
Yet the president continues to stand by Alberto Gonzales. His spokeswoman, Dana Perino, said the president didn't actually see any of the Attorney General's testimony, and I think maybe that adds to the president's confidence, because if you saw that Attorney General in the headlights action going on last week, can you explain the loyalty?
Well, it's interesting because the president didn't see the testimony, but yet it increased his confidence in the attorney general. Radical leftists like Tom Coburn and Jeff Sessions and Arlen Specter and all of these other Republican senators.
She said with her tongue in her cheek.
Yes, exactly. I mean, those people looked at Alberto Gonzales at the hearings and thought that he ought to be canned. I think it's easy to conclude that the reason that Bush is standing by Alberto Gonzales is personal loyalty and the president's now infamous ability to reject facts that he finds inconvenient. I do have a political theory, though, about why he might be standing by him, at least in the meantime. All Republican elected officials who are running for re-election are going to have to find some issue to put distance between themselves and the Bush-Cheney administration. Anybody who doesn't put distance between themselves and Bush and Cheney is not going to be re-elected. Maybe they're going to leave Alberto Gonzales hanging out there for a few months for people to basically to be a hate sponge for Republican officials so that there's some way that they can distance themselves from the administration. It's the only thing I can come up with.
Rachel Maddow, host of The Rachel Maddow Show on Air America. Thanks for being with us.
Allison, thanks.